first, making sure that they, put that in their calendar so that they can be present here at school to take the Spanish placement assessment. February 26th, the Palm Desert High School counselors will be visiting the math classes to talk about their course selection. I did email all of these dates to all students and all parents. If you didn't receive this email, please feel free to email me and I can send you a copy. It's pretty much a check-off form so that you're able to, go through it and make sure that we've got all of these things done before we transition to the high school. So going back, sorry, the counselors will be in the math. They'll talk a little bit about the course selection form. It will be digital. So when they go home, your student will be talking to you about the course selection, what Palm Desert High School has to offer, what it is that they have to choose from. And then on February 27th, the next day, can you change? On February 27th, we'll be visiting Palm Desert High School for a rally. We'll be walking over as an 8th grade class. And it's really fun. The students at Palm Desert High School, they have like their cheer team and all their leadership classes there to invite our students on campus. And they're able to take tours of the campus. So they're going to divide them up and they take a tour of the campus. For a lot of our students, this will be the first time that they've set foot on campus. So it's nice to have that introduction. They also will be introduced to all of the admin there. And then the clubs will be set up in the NPR for them to review and look at. And they usually have QR codes for them to scan with their phones so that they're able to sign up if they're interested in any one of the clubs. So it's a nice preview day. We'll be back before noon. They'll be back right at lunchtime so that they have lunch here. I will be sending those field trip slips out to our staff next week. So please be expecting that. And we will have to get a signed permission slip for your student to be able to participate in that rally. A lot of times we'll get questions about, well, what if my student is not going to attend Palm Desert High School? Maybe they are planning on attending Shadow Hills or Looking to High. I definitely would say just join us and go to the rally because it's nice just to step foot on a high school campus and get the feeling. It might not be the school that they are going to, but sometimes things change, right, in life, and maybe they end up going to Palm Desert High School, and so we don't want them to miss that, and they might as well go with us, right, with all of their friends.
It's very similar too.
Yeah.
Like Shadow does the same thing. I know at their games they have DJs and it's very all the schools do.
And that night, it will be the opportunity for you all to go as parents to Palm Desert High School, and they'll pretty much have a similar thing, but a similar rally going on, but for parents. And you'll have the opportunity to step foot on campus, meet some of the admin, and most likely a couple teachers, and be able to look around the high school and get a feeling of what your child will encounter when they go next year. On March 7th, the counselors, PDHS counselors will come back and they will be visiting your students in the humanities class. So by this time, all the students should have their classes chosen on the Google form. If they have any questions, this would be the time for them to ask those questions. They will be meeting with their counselor that they will have for the 4 years. So it's a good opportunity for them to ask any questions that they may have at that time. Again, they are meeting with, there's like five counselors, and they're meeting with 400 and something students. So it's not going to be like a 30-minute session. It's going to be a quick 3 to 4 minutes, going over the classes that they chose, making any recommendations, and that's again their chance to meet their counselor and ask any quick questions. I always tell the students, make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you had your classes chosen and you're prepared with any questions that you do have, because it is very quick.
And that's the March 7th date?
Yes.
Okay.
The 27th on a Tuesday. just for us, because we'll have to. cancel
March,
our groups.
February 27th is a
Yeah,
Tuesday?
groups.
And March 7th.
It's through their humanities
It's
classes,
through their
so it's
humanities,
that
yeah, it's a
double block. So
Okay.
that's why they get a little bit more individual time instead of just general group.
And then those counselors, since they're meeting with all the different students, just filter in then.
So what happens is, we have about 5 humanities classes, so what our teachers do is they sort of give the room to the counselor. And then the kids just separate for that block into the classroom where their counselor is. So they sort of have a waiting area kind of like in that thing, and then they're meeting with the counselor. as
Because
they're
they do
doing it.
A through G.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go by last name,
A through
very
G.
similar to us. They do have a pretty final last day for course request change. It's usually in May, beginning of May. So if a student finds out, well, maybe I don't want to take, I don't know, biology and I want to take geology, they have that opportunity to make that change. Once a school starts, it's very difficult to make any schedule changes at the high school, and we're gonna tell you a little bit why. But if your student is interested in athletics, if they're gonna take AP courses or they're interested in any clubs, I also recommend that you go onto the school website. A lot of the information is there. It's full of information. Please look through the school website for any important dates, because a lot of times, especially for athletics, they have to do
Or dance, they have to do.
checkup,
yeah.
wellness, and then usually they have practices even before school starts.
Well, even tryouts, right? The
And
tryouts.
yes.
I have a question, how does it work? Would you be able to sort of meet with if you knew what letter the last name is, you know who their counselor is, like prior to them coming to ask questions about, because they're gonna get all this information, but they're also still a child, and I wanna give them independence, but at the same time, I wanna know like about these courses and these choices. Is there a way for us to meet before they sort of choose their classes with the counselor from Palm Desert?
They're usually kind of really slammed with all these
Right.
students, and the good thing is this. The freshmen, it's a set schedule. It's
Mhm.
very everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
there's
says
not
changes
much room.
in junior year, in sophomore, junior, senior year. That's where it really starts becoming different things, the different paths, APs and all these other things, right? But it's very basic. Everybody's kind of taking the same thing as when they're in 8th grade, except for a couple of those elective, those.
Which would be the electives,
Right.
very similar to us. Every year we provide the Google form and students are able to choose their electives. It's very similar for freshman year of high school. They're able to choose an elective, but everything else as far as their A through G requirements and their core classes. Every student's gonna take a science, every student's gonna take English 1, PAP, every student's gonna take math 1 unless they're compacted. And their counselor will catch that when they meet with them, and they'll be able to go into math 2. Other than that, most of the students are on a stream of classes and they're all pretty much doing the same thing. Every student's gonna take a foreign language, whether it be Spanish or French, and a PE, pretty basic.
There is the option to have AP Human Geography, I
Yes.
think, your freshman year, and that would take the place of an elective, I think. So I just want to learn more about that, but I'll go to the website. for that.
Yes.
And then if my son just took 1 year of Spanish here, he'll probably start at Spanish 1 there. Yes, okay.
Yes.
But that's when they can take also, correct me if I'm wrong, they could take the summer school PE class, so they can take that class.
They actually do. So we're pretty good about the students who select or are recommended for the AP Human Geography. And so we reach out to our students, if you're planning to take AP Human Geography, we give them the paperwork for summer school, because they are gonna be required to take their PE and summer school in order to have the room for that class for AP Human Geography.
How would that work if they're gonna be an athlete and on a football team?
So if they're in football, that's usually an after-school sport, so it doesn't usually go within their day.
It's not a class.
But it's not a class, so that would be an after-school sport.
Okay.
It just later on at sophomore, junior, senior, it counts for PE. It
Right.
counts,
Yeah.
but not the freshman year. They have.
Only varsity level.
Only
Yeah,
varsity.
Only varsity.
Right.
So they have the freshmen
Like
have to
sixth period
take,
weight training
the
kind of-
freshmen have to take PE.
Right. Sorry, I lost. train of
Yeah.
thought. So this is the course selection information. We really, recommend that you sit down with your student. You look at the courses that are being offered. You look at the, electives with them so that you know what your student is choosing. Any changes in courses in the fall unless there is an administrative approval. And the reason being is because they're by a semester calendar. They receive credits. They receive 5 credits each semester. They can't change courses because it's really difficult for them. They can't put on on their transcripts that they took, half a semester in French and the other half in Spanish. It has to be 5 credits for Spanish or 5 credits for French. So they are going to be held to their schedule until the end of the semester or pretty much till the end of the year, because most of those classes or all of the classes are year-long classes. Let's go ahead and next slide. The only time that they will get a schedule change is if there's a hole in their schedule. For whatever reason, a class was missed and they didn't get a 3rd period, then they would have to meet with the counselor the first day and then they would correct that with them. We talked a little bit about if your student is going to a different school, if they are going to Shadow Hills or if they are going to La Quinta. They'll hold the same thing, similar thing. They have their, freshman orientation and elective showcase. So if you look here, Shadow Hills has theirs on March 1st. If your child is planning on going to Shadow Hills, this would be a great event to go to so that they have the opportunity again to step on the campus, be able to see what electives they offer, be able to meet some of the staff and get a head start and feel comfortable. So that when they do attend, they will have already been on campus and have, a little bit of that feeling.
I do want to add, Shadow Hills is sort of opening it up a little bit more in the sense that if there's enough interest of students from our site, and maybe like certain steps have been started, like a transfer application and things like that, they will try to get a bus or something like that to have some of the students go during that time to go check out the elective showcase. We just need to let them know by the end of this week what kind of interest there is. So if there's not a lot of interest, then it's an individual kind of commitment where the parents would have to take the student. But if we have enough kids, then they may be able to arrange transportation for.
Yeah, and with that, you just have to, let our school know so that they get credit for being here at school.
That
But
would be a
they can
school
go, yeah.
activity.
It counts as a school
It counts as
activity.
a school activity.
Yeah, so that would be great. And again, it's the same what we were talking earlier about putting students on a high school campus, getting to kind of experience the different options that are there. The district sort of has like an open district enrollment kind of thing. I mean, there's usually with the transfers, they hardly ever get denied because as long as there's space, that works. So and there are CTE options throughout the district that are different at each of the high schools. Those are the career technical education programs. So students shouldn't be limited to just one site because that's the only thing that's available by their residents. So they're sort of opening it up a little bit more. And we're gonna go over those options district-wide.
We'll be doing the same thing for the 5th graders, because I know some people have 5th graders coming in, but they have high schoolers going out, So we'll be doing the same thing. We'll post those dates too, but we do a very similar.
So this is a sample of what most of our freshmen's schedule would look like. All students will be taking pre-AP English 1. All students will be taking Math 1 unless they're currently in compacted math and recommended for Math 2. They will be taking Math 2. And those students will know who they are because they will have already received their recommendation from their teacher. And then all students will be taking a science. This is the area which they have a little bit of wiggle room that they can choose what science they want to take. Geoscience or conceptual physics. Some may choose to take biology. So this is where, you know, there's a little bit of wiggle room depending on what path they want to go to. World language.
I just wanted to add, and sometimes that biology recommendation, just so you know, goes hand in hand with the math recommendation. So they're going into the honors two math or the compacted math at the high school. That's usually how they'll allow them to take bio, but most of the time, these students will be taking. Almost all students will be taking conceptual physics or geoscience.
Or geoscience, right?
All classes are CP classes, so college prep courses, so they all will count for their A through G requirements, so they're all eligible for that.
Yeah.
Or language.
And they'll all be taking a world language. Most of our students choose Spanish, but French is offered. And then they'll be taking a fine art, whether that be art, ceramics, whichever that they choose, a CTE class, and then they all take PE. This is what I was sort of talking a little bit about. If your student is planning on taking AP Human Geography, that would be in place of PE, and that's why they're required to take the PE in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's another slide on that.
PE is,
But those, the selected courses that would do that.
yeah, PE is, in ninth grade is the year where they do the California state testing, just like they do in fifth grade and in seventh grade. So that's one of the reasons why all students have to take PE their freshman year. After that, the high school gets a little bit more flexible and more creative on students meeting their PE requirements. But that first year, everyone needs to be enrolled in a PE class.
Beep. So these are the high school requirements, and we have a poster in here for the college ones.
It's on the next.
Oh, it's on the next slide, okay.
as well.
I'm like, there's two, so you can look at the two, but, so 3 years social science, 4 years English, math 3. Lab science 2, fine arts 1, PE 2, and that's where you can get creative. The first one for sure, the second one could be different, and then additional courses over like 70 credits. And different schools have different credits, so different high schools have different requirements to
and-
graduate.
And I would say, don't get too bogged down with like keeping track and remembering exactly how many of each one. That sort of is the
counselors,
reference list
yeah.
that you'll have to kind of just double check with your student when they're choosing classes for the following year, just making sure that, and again, the counselor plays a big role of that, just make sure that kind of remember there's a list of classes that we do need to meet. And most of the time, again, the schedules are built already with some flexibility for choice as to classes that are gonna meet all of these. And that's sort of where the accountant kind of job of being a counselor kind of comes in, comparing transcripts and things like that to making sure that this is getting done. As well as the UC Cal State option, if that's a goal that the student has. And most high schools are pushing students to make sure that they meet them so that in case their senior year, they do want to push forward, they do have the option.
And as you can see, there's no PE on this,
So-
but they have to have that to graduate, so they have to have it.
So. And this is,
Oh, the credit breakdown.
yeah, so this is when we discussed the credits, sort of what Ms. Vasquez was talking a little bit ago. Again, that students earn 5 credits per semester in each class. So in English 9 pre-AP, they get 5 credits for semester 1, 5 credits for semester 2. That adds up to the 10 English credits. And then we go per subject, and then it all adds up for the 6 courses, 60 credits. So in 4 years, they should be able to more than meet the 220 credit requirement because they can get 240 without having to do any remediation or acceleration. Again, it meets the possibility there. Some students do end up having more options. We do want to point out that for our ELD students, our English learners, again, sometimes we have to make space for them in their schedule to continue receiving support as they progress through high school. So sometimes that might have to impact a little bit of their schedule, and the high school has been flexible, allowing some options so that the students can accelerate maybe through like a PE course in the summer, and that way it won't get in the way of making progress.
And I do
as
have a
well.
question. How do you know if your student is still an English learner?
They would be in ELD this year. If they're not in ELD this year, then they
Yeah.
are not in.
So until they pass that LPAC test, they have to take the class. And it usually is their elective. There are some high schools that have an set 7, 8 periods, you know what I mean? They accommodate for that, but Palm Desert High does not. So that's one of the schools that does not.
But you would know because your
You would
student
know.
would be taking ELD this year.
Again, just keeping in mind, we always put to the kids, we get, when we have conversations in the class. There's varying interests across the board. Some of them are very like pro going to college, some of them are. Completely the other end of like, I wanna be a gamer. Like, we
They
hear
think
it
they
all.
wanna be a gamer at this moment in time.
So,
They need a backup plan B.
yeah,
Some wanna go and pursue maybe trying out for military, some wanna go to trade school. We have a variety of different interests, and we do our CCGI, College Career Guidance lessons with our students from sixth grade. We start them in sixth grade. So they do have the opportunity to sort of navigate and look at different interests that they have. One of the things that we do in sixth grade is the interest profiler. That is like a questionnaire, a survey that asks them about their interest, and then it connects it with careers that would be great for them as far as what they choose in their interest. And then it tells them a little bit about the career, and a lot of times we all love that lesson, because a lot of times
Fun.
our students, we know like the basic, I'm not saying they're basic, but we know like the more
more
popular
common.
career and common careers, like, you know, teacher, doctor, lawyer, policeman, right? And so this gives them the opportunity to see that there are so many other careers that they have to choose from. And they're able to click on the careers, it gives them a description, has a video that goes along with what the career would look like throughout the day.
Much they would
And
make.
what it entails, and you know, what you would be doing in your job. It also has how much they would be paid, their salary, and what school they would have to attend, how many years of college. So we do that lesson in sixth grade. We do several lessons throughout sixth, seventh, and eighth grade with CCGI. And so it's not going to be their first time looking at some of these things and some of their different opportunities that they have. If you have not talked about that with your student, please ask them, hey, get on your college and career guidance program, and they have the opportunity to do that at home. They have the access, they can log in from home, and you can sort of look through their CCGI lessons and talk about some of those choices that they've made because they heart their
Mhm.
careers. And then they also have like journals at the end of each lesson, and they write about their different interests or about the lesson and what they learned.
Yeah,
They're
and then
really
they
fun
heart the
lessons.
colleges too, because we have different
They heart
lessons,
the
right?
colleges.
Financial aid lessons and college lessons. So when they heart those things, they come up and then you can see, oh, they liked, you know, San Diego State
Right,
or UCLA.
Yeah, with our eighth graders, we'll be there tomorrow again, sort of, again, another touch point of a reminder, so that they have a fresh kind of report of themselves as to what are their interests, what are some things that they can explore, so that it sort of ties together with choosing their classes and kind of what are their options, so hopefully that'll be another kind of incentive.
Do they go through like Clever to get to the CCGI, or like what do they go through to?
It is
they should have it
CCGI.
bookmarked on their
Bookmark.
Chromebook.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, we always.
That's the
ask.
first thing we tell them in sixth grade, when we get them signed up, bookmark this website on your Chromebook, because you will be using it all throughout middle school and all throughout high school. We like to say that it's their electronic portfolio. When they do go to college, their transcript should be going into CCGI
essays.
as far as when they get
All
to the
their
high
stuff goes
school.
into that.
their
Even in high
grades.
school, even the students at high school, they do have.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
And it's the same account,
same
Same
account.
all the way that
All the way
to
to
the
their
end.
senior
Okay.
year. They'll be applying for financial aid. Hopefully, by the
That's the
time they get there,
district's
that's the
directive right now.
district's
Mhm.
direction that they're trying to go and have
FAFSA,
them
you'll
apply
think.
for their financial aid. Through CCGI. They're also, their direction is for them to be able to apply for colleges through CCGI. That's another thing, your student will be, or families will be required, every family will be required, that's a new thing. Every family will be required to apply for FAFSA in order for your child to graduate from high school. That is yeah.
Or at least-
Regardless
or-
if you wanna
and
take
I
the
just wanna
money or
add to
not.
that, or at least acknowledge it, there's also like an opt-out form for that, but at
So
least.
you're gonna be offered some
acknowledge-
money.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll be offered some money, but you don't have to take those loans.
It's also
Yeah,
interesting.
no,
and
it's awesome.
perspective,
In
the
which
government
grade
wants
do
to know
they-
every single person's financial status. I believe.
Yeah.
Unless your kid
Yes.
doesn't get a diploma.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's why I'm
Mine too,
saying,
like I did it from the masters, I ended up paying 7%.
but
which
so
I
that's what I'm saying, I think it's just, there's the even the option to
Wait.
just kind of opt out of the process, but at least. Recognizing that you have the option of financial aid versus the option of like, oh, I didn't know the process. So hopefully that'll be a thing. Again, the career technical programs that are available specifically at Palm Desert High School, again, it's one of those things that we like, we keep saying we work more closely with Palm Desert. About 95% of our students go there, so it only makes sense to sort of streamline most of our information to our students for the high school. Again, they have the AVID program, which is an option for students to take for years. The AVID class does count as a college prep elective as well, so it can be one of those boxes in the A through G course list. Students can start exploring the Health Careers Academy. I'm always cautious to kind of explain to students that this is a good base, a good foundation to sort of start exploring the field. It doesn't mean that they're gonna be able to practice medicine right after high school, but it'll give them good foundations. Actually, here's the other day I ran into a student at the pausing pause, like a little vet clinic here in Palm Desert, and some of the people, some of the employees running the front desk are former students that didn't necessarily have to go through a medical program, but just the foundations they got through the Health Careers Academy gets them to work in those departments. So yeah, film, audio, and broadcasting, and that's one of those pathways that is that we're building and connecting to the high school. We have our broadcasting program here with Mr. Williams. We have in sixth grade the wheel component, so students get exposed. Then in seventh grade, they can get the introductory course for the full year. And then the advanced course that does more of the full announcements and live announcements and things like that, that will connect to Palm Desert High School. So that's something that our students can build. The performing arts pathways, Poseidon, you want to speak from your parent experience?
No, well, we have, we're trying to grow that, but I mean, we have like drama, we have dance, we have our color guard, which is an award-winning team. We have, let's see, art here, we have foods. I don't know if that's performing arts, it's kind of like culinary arts. Which more so goes to the Quinta High because that's the pathway for that specific one. But, yeah, we have, am I missing any? Because we have a lot.
Speak about Lexi's first foundation.
And yeah, my daughter was here, but we are really trying to bring back the choir to our school, but my daughter had choir and choir here, and then she went to the choir in Palm Desert High School, and she really liked it. And so that was her pathway, but we don't offer that, but we are that's still something that we would like to have here.
Yeah, and it's a collective of the dance courses, the theater
Mhm.
courses, music, all of those things together.
Mhm.
One of the things that I sometimes tell especially the boys, is that they shy away from the dance classes, which those are a unique class in the sense that it meets A through G courses for performing arts, but it also meets PE requirements. So it sort of checks off a class in both lists. But it's mainly signed up by some of the girls. So again, there's that. The military science, our cadet corps program continues, starts here at PDCMS, and it continues. So some of the students that started off in our program 2 years ago already start off with a higher rank over at the high school.
It's the same
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
And like our drama program here, like I think they're even gonna go see a show at Palm Desert High, so we do have that connection with them. For them to see what the high school is doing, and that gives them a little interest and maybe wanting to do some, continue on in that area, so.
And each high school has their different pathways, and I think Mr. Ruiz
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
mentioned
next
that
one.
earlier. So for instance, if your student is really interested in going into culinary arts, we'd highly recommend that they go to La Quinta High, because they have an amazing culinary arts program. So if that's something that they're interested in, then they would consider going to La Quinta High. I think Shadow Hills has the irrigation and landscape. They also have the solar. They have
Yep.
many different opportunities at different high schools, depending on which one your child plans on attending. So these are some of the pathways, or pretty much all of the pathways listed here. Summit High School has the cosmetology program, and Amistad has the automotive, which we
We
had the
got to tour,
opportunity
yeah,
to go
was
visit the other day, and it's
fantastic.
pretty amazing.
Mhm.
It was definitely, they got a lot of high tech equipment there. The teacher was super amazing.
I
And
think they
they
can have like
also,
4 or
Yeah.
5 cars, I think.
they
there.
also shared with us that if your student has an interest in an automotive tech, that they can bus them from their school. So if they go to Palm Desert High School, or if they go to Shadow.
At Amistad.
On
Amistad, it's in
Indio.
North India.
North.
North India.
But they'll
over
pick them
by
up
the
from their high
DMV.
school and bring them over there to do the program. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's so great about it. They could be at a different
Yeah,
program.
so that's for both Amistad and Summit, their cosmetology barbery program.
Right, and
those
what
were-
like location, I mean, like for us, we're like near the theater, so that's why it's very. When the Macomb Theater does their shows and stuff, they always invite us and Palm Desert High School because our kids can walk.
And each of these high schools, again, aside from the different program CTE options that they have. It's always important to remember that each one has a different bell schedule to serve the students in a different way. So Palm Desert has like the embedded office hours, so twice a week they get a little bit of extra support within the day. Either for catch up or enrichment. I know like the counselors will do like workshops and things like that for the kids. And then some teachers will put on extra activities. Some of the other high schools like Shadow Hills has, I think, like a 7-day period, so there's more options sometimes to do within the same day. La Quinta High School has 6 periods as well. Indio has 8. They do like a split like A-B schedule. One day they do 4 classes, the next day they do 4. So sometimes again, students are able to explore other disciplines simply because of the schedule that they're able to have. So just something to consider. Each school has their own unique like wins. Again, most of our students, because of proximity, end up going to Palm Desert High School, so we share more of that info.
Can you speak for just a quick moment on the engineering academy? That was the last one. I was waiting.
Yeah, so the engineering academy is one that is able to start for students until their sophomore year. And it is a component of both the computer sciences and the physical engineering of it.
But it looks different at different schools, like my husband teaches it at Indio High. And it's totally different. I mean, they've got welding,
and
power
that's-
saws, they're building where at Palm Desert High, it might be more technical, do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they're using CAD, well, my husband uses CAD too, but. You know, where they're designing, it's
Yeah.
more of a design, like learning how to do that, whereas Indio is more, they're designing and then they're creating.
And we sort of have that jump start here with our computer literacy classes, our robotics components that we have with Mr. Munskard. Sometimes the impatience of our student kind of leads them to explore something else because again, they can't continue it right away their freshman year. They have to sort of plug into something else before they get to start it their sophomore year. But it's definitely an option, but it's not an option right away as a freshman. I wanted to mention all of these, again, are gonna be options a little bit within their schedule, also outside. And this is where part of that meeting that the counselor has with the student one-on-one in March is gonna be to make sure that the student followed up with certain processes. So if they're wanting to be in ASB, Link Crew, Aztec Impact, the yearbook class, all of these things. Did they
Band.
follow through with their applications? Did they follow through with their auditions? Just so that they're actually choosing classes they're gonna be able to take. So that their choices are not mismatched and like, oh, well, I won't be able to give you that or that because you didn't apply for these things. And the unique thing, and again, one of the things we want parents and students to know is that all of these timelines for individual classes are not always like streamlined. The teachers sort of sometimes put the applications out there and things like that. So this is where the interest should kind of like spike a little bit of that research. If the student is interested, constantly be checking the website. The Palm Desert High School counselors will create a Google Classroom. And they'll share it pretty soon with our students, but they'll create a Google Classroom where they'll constantly send these announcements of like, hey, the application for this class opened up, the application for that class opened up. But until then, it's good practice for our students to start kind of already looking for it if they're looking at any of these things. I wouldn't stress so much about the sports stuff yet, because they're gonna get to meet the coaches and some of the players and things like that when they do their tour, so I wouldn't necessarily stress about that. There's gonna be that day where they do their physical exams and things like that on campus, just to kind of speed everything up, so things are gonna happen sort of streamlined, but for some of these unique experiences, I would say start kind of checking out the website just to make sure that options are there and the student doesn't miss any deadlines. Yeah, sometimes we've had the students
And
miss.
this is not new to our students. This is very, I mean, it's similar to the way that we handle things here at PDCMS. If a student wants to be in ASB, Renaissance, they have to fill out an application in order to be in those classes. So they're used to this. If they are interested in a sport, then they need to meet the deadlines and they need to get that application filled out and usually signatures from all their teachers in order for them to participate in these sports. Once they are connected with the 2028, because that's when they will be graduating, Google Classroom, all of that, all of that information will be put into the 2028 Google Classroom, very similar to the classrooms that they have here at school, here at PDCMS now. So they're used to this process. This is not new to them. So the high school does it very similar. So they just need to be able to check their 2028 Google Classrooms, make sure that they're getting all the information.
Yeah, it's more of a training, we really are, scaffolding them to get to this high school time, because we know, I mean, as kids go to college, like my daughter's you don't have access to their stuff anymore. You don't know what kind of emails they're getting, you don't know when the applications are due, the money's due, they come to you and tell you this because it's their email, we don't have access. I mean, if you try to call, they won't give you access, because by that time, your child's an adult. So, and they're in charge of that. So we're trying to get our students ready and responsible to be able to do this all on their own. Yeah.
And again, kind of going hand in hand with that, with seeking opportunities, there's the sports, and we just remind students that there is the academic components to be eligible for that. And that's not necessarily a decision of the coach. They have to get that for the clearinghouse for sports and things like that. So that's something even beyond them, making sure that they're eligible. Again, when they visit the high school, and when you guys also get the chance to visit the high school, and you're gonna be able to talk to all the coaches and get the training calendars for either the summer, if it's a fall sport or things like that. So all of that will become available to you. They usually have also sign up sheets so that they can add your emails and things like that, and you guys can get the notifications and all that stuff. So those will be options that will be coming your way as well. And then summer school, I know we sort of touched
Mhm.
on it a
Kind of
little
talk about it,
bit.
but here's a visual.
Yeah, so here's a visual. So first of all, the students that there's for the intro math, that's a 3-week course. And that one is only for students who are recommended by their teacher. And usually it's because they're getting lower than a C in their math class right now as 8th graders. And it's a good opportunity to brush up on some skills before high school starts. So if the student is getting lower than a C in the compacted math class, they're probably not gonna be here.
Yeah.
It's just for regular 8th grade math. And again, it's a 3-week course. We always tell the kids that it's almost like a 6.5-hour commitment, 4 days a week. If the students miss more than 10 hours collectively. So if they show up late a few times, or they miss a whole day and then they miss the next day or part of the next day, and it adds up to the 10 hours and they get dropped. Because they need that seat time to be receiving credits. And again, it's so condensed that they have to be there pretty much all of the day. For the full 6-week option, that's at Palm Desert High School. And again, we talk about the different bell schedules sometimes allow for different things. Palm Desert being 6 periods. They sort of know that in order to fit extra options like ELD, AP Human Geography, AVID, or pre-AP dance, they're allowing students to take PE in the summer only for these students. So it's not like, well, I just want to not take PE during the year, but I'm not signing up for any of these classes. That's not an option. So they'll match that application, summer school application, with the courses that the student is signed up for the fall, and they'll sort of make that decision if they're eligible for it or not. Same thing applies, they have to meet their attendance piece. And this is sort of a way of making space in their schedule. Usually we get these applications in the late spring. We usually send, if it's for math, we'll send an email to all parents that we're getting the recommendation from the math teacher. That'll just say, hey, your student is being recommended. Here's the application, please submit it. And then we'll follow with you just to double check. If it's for the PE one, we'll usually open up a blanket one and we'll say, hey, if you're signed up for these classes, please make sure you submit a summer school application, and we double check with that. But yeah, so think of summer plans. Again, the first one, it's 3 weeks, so depending on how summer plans work, it can be the first semester of summer school or the second semester of summer school. And sometimes that may be limited if there's only a few kids, then they only offer 1 semester. The 6-week option is all the way until like mid-July. So as you make plans, just consider, is my student gonna have an interest in taking any of these courses? And do we need to accommodate that this summer? And if not, again, usually it won't happen this year. They'll have to sacrifice something. Well, they're pretty good. The high school counselors are pretty good about finding a solution. But it'll maybe impacting some things as they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the counselors at the high school based by last name, just so that you guys have a reference. So if you want to write down who the counselor would be for your student, that'd be a great thing. They do ask us, I know to the earlier question, they do ask us to please don't like forward all parents in that direction right away. They're trying to complete graduation pieces and all that stuff,
And you will get with them that email, robo email, like, we are busy doing the master schedule, blah, 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 you know, like, we're not available, leave, you know, leave an email.
but yeah, but they're really responsive. They work with the students really great. So if your kids end up going to Palm Desert High School, they'll be in great hands. Again, we get to collaborate with counselors at all the other high schools, and I couldn't say any different as well.
Mhm.
They're amazing.
They will get back to you. I mean, it's just at the beginning of, I think for all of us, when we're trying to do schedules and all that stuff, it is very time consuming trying to get everybody a schedule and everybody a class. So those other little things, tweaky things come a little bit later, but they do end up happening. So just be patient.
I'm super lucky. My counselor's like, we're Facebook friends.
Oh, awesome. There you go. So you can probably get a little bit more without, yeah,
I just.
yeah, you're like, oh,
Okay.
there you go.
I'll even write that down.
Yeah, so there you go. So, I mean, they're members of the community as well, so yeah,
Yeah.
we run into
Play
each
on the
other.
same teams. It's
Yeah.
a small world.
It
Yeah.
is.
We have some of their kids too.
There you go.
I can call on each of those kids.
Yes.
Yep, who they are,
We have
yeah.
some of their kids too.
And I just want to mention, I gave to you all, and these were also given out to the students when we visited the classrooms in December. This book is really handy. It has all the resources for college. It also has the A through G requirements, which is huge, right? Because we sort of want to keep track and make sure that our students are meeting those requirements. It has a lot of great information in here. It talks a little bit about financial aid. It talks about scholarships. It's a lot of great information in here. They also have the opportunity when we were in the classrooms, we had these pamphlets, brochures that had the CTE pathways. So if they were interested in a certain CTE pathway, they were able to pick one up. If you want to pick one up on the way out, if you're interested in maybe the cadet or the engineering pathway, you may also take one as well.
Yep.
Any questions? I know it's a lot of information.
Is this that says, college and career fair, so like this is, and we love the career fair, this is, there isn't specific college and career fair.
We did have a fair in October.
Oh,
We did.
Okay, so it's usually in October, and so don't worry, it happens every October. So you can go next October with,
Right,
and the next October and the
Right.
next, and just, keep going if you want, but they always have it in October and you can always attend it and see all the colleges and all that,
They have it at the Olive Heights.
yeah.
They have a
But
huge college.
It should have,
really, in October.
Mhm.
I hope
And
everything
they-
looks good, like, what's it, and they're like frames and stuff, it's like everything. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's why we have the posters. You'll see the posters almost in like every classroom.
And it's a lot of information, so I would say again, just kind of skim through it, don't like expect even for yourself to kind of absorb everything right away. Keep showing up to any workshops that like as we go on, the high school puts on or things like that, just so that the bits and pieces start making more sense. We take the same approach with our kids. We don't try to give them just like, okay, here we go, we checked all the boxes, you know everything. Because we know that it needs to be repetitive, it needs to be ongoing, and information changes. So this is a printed.
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say.
So in a
information
few
sheet.
years, it'll be obsolete. It's already technically obsolete.
Not that, like when later on, like in sophomore, junior, senior, when they start having those dual enrollment classes. Those aren't every single year that teacher's gonna do a dual enrollment. It could be this year, there's a dual enrollment class that student can take.
Based on how many kids sign up.
Based on how many kids sign up, and so those things are always changing. So when people ask us, well, is there a dual enrollment? We don't know, because every school is different and how they work with COD on that and how kids are taking their courses or what they're needing for certain colleges. That's all changing, and even the colleges change their requirements here and there, and so that's why these counselors are the experts in that. They're updated on all those changes. We obviously are not working with kids for college, right? So we're not, aware of some of those things. But like with
We
the
get them
finance,
started.
we get them
In sixth
started.
grade, we start them off with 3 lessons in CCGI.
Yeah.
Seventh grade, they do 3 more lessons, different lessons, and then 8th grade, they'll do 3 more lessons in CCGI. So it's really just to touch base on things and get them prepared and get them to start thinking. And then once they go off to the high school, they are with the experts, right? As far as how to get the transcripts ready and all of that stuff. So definitely, it's not like they're going in with no knowledge. We try to get them prepared, and that's why we go into the classrooms and do those CCGI lessons with them. But then again, it's a lot of information, right? It's a lot of information, and please don't get so overwhelmed. We all have, we have children. I have 2 grown children, and I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, freshman year, this is something huge. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta find out about this, I gotta find out about that, and sometimes we extend ourselves. And so it really starts to flow once they're freshmen. The high school will help them out and be able to guide them along with you all as well. They have the office hours at the high school, like Mr. Ruiz was mentioning, where they have the opportunity, a lot of times they'll have college, speakers come from different colleges, and they'll come and speak on campus during office hours. So then your child can, if they're interested in that college, then they can sign up for that speaker, and they can see, find out all about, I don't know, UC Riverside or whoever is there at that day. So they'll have many, many opportunities to be able to get engaged with the different resources. They also have the Career Center at the high school. And so they have somebody there who helps them look at different careers, look at different scholarships, look at different colleges. So there's a lot of opportunity there. It's just your child also has to go, right? Because you can't be there with them at school, holding their hand. So they have to be able to utilize those, right? Those resources. And like Ms. Poseidon said, once they get to the college, it's pretty much they're on their own, right? They have to take responsibility, and believe me, I know, because I tried to email a professor the first semester, and he's like, why are you emailing me? Have your child email me. So they won't either respond, or they'll say, I'm sorry, she has to email me, but he has to email me, right? So it's a big eye opener. It's like, well, okay. What do you mean? Right? Only with the money.
Yeah.
Only with the money.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my
Yeah.
private
Tuition,
Yeah,
yeah.
I wanna know what I'm investing
Yeah.
in. Yes, it's a big eye opener. It's pretty, yeah, it's a big shocker. So definitely, we wanna get them, prepared, and little by little, and we understand as parents, you obviously wanna help them, but be careful with that. Because I remember when I first found out about CCGI, and I went home and I did it with my daughter, I spent like 4 hours on CCGI, because there's just so many resources, and it takes you down one rabbit hole, and then you go down and you're like, wow, there's just so much. And like, I was super excited, and after an hour, she was like, I'm over this, right? And so just be careful with that, because sometimes we're invested in it, and we really have to, be, just some boundaries there. And if they're really, really interested in something, you're gonna know, and you're gonna help guide them through that, right? So there's a lot of great resources. I love CCGI. I love it. I was like, I want to go back to college, and so it's definitely, you can find yourself on there for hours, but they have to be interested in it.
So like all the resources in here are in that CCGI.
CCGI is this, but like huge, like I'm talking about like a novel. It has so many different things. It has, how do I learn? So you could do like they could do a survey on how they learn, so they ask them questions. And then based on how they learn, it'll give them different work habits and study habits that would be useful for them as they go into college or they go into high school. And then it has all the colleges and they can look up, how much it's gonna cost for the books at that college, how much the board and room is gonna cost, how much, it just gives them a breakdown of everything. How many students at that school get financial aid and how much do they usually receive? It just breaks down it's got
Yeah,
so many different lessons.
So our job is just to pretty much get the kids exposed to all of those little
Right.
factors so that they can ask those questions, and when they start exploring their own individual interests, they know what to look for.
Right.
So that's the intent of it, and yeah, again, just spike curiosity. They're in middle school, so they're gonna start being more focused on those processes in high school, but we want them to have that general base of information.
So great stuff.
That's it. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For
yeah,
5
yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
just
of
about
course.
my son.
Sure,
not
sure.
favorite.
Do you have any questions there? No?
Recording is.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
There were no